بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to this read-through of Contemplating the Quran, a thematic commentary on the 30 ajza, or 30 parts of the Blessed Quran. Tonight, on the last night of the middle 10 of Ramadan, we're going to be doing the 20th juz of the Quran, covering Surah al-Naml, Surah al-Qasas and Surah al-Ankabut. And the theme of this juz is God's will overcomes all. What brings peace and tranquility to man through submission to God's knowledge, will and power is understanding that the will of Allah supersedes all other wills. Is He not the one who created the heavens and the earth and made the earth a hospitable place for living, as mentioned in Surah Naml, verse 60. Does He not guide His servants and respond to them, for He is indeed close to them? And does His knowledge not encompass all hidden things? And that's verses 63 to 75. He is the one who will resurrect the dead and indubitably gather them to Himself, verse 83. So opens this part, that God may instruct us that man's pretensions of control and self-reliance only indicate the corruption of his thought and the derangement of his intellect. Surah al-Qasas commences with one of the scenes from the life of Pharaoh, who plotted and planned to humiliate people and divide them into opposing groups. Yet all of his contrivances availed him naught in the face of God's will, which delivered Moses into his very palace, caused him to be raised right before his eyes and grow before him, all that he might become his foe and his downfall, as mentioned in verse 8. God also strengthened the heart of the mother of Moses, that she might learn that the promise of God was true, in verse 13. He preserved Moses from the hatching plot of Pharaoh, facilitating a means of escape for him to the land of Midian, where he fled into exile, hunted and weary, seeking respite from an oppressive people. God's prophet Shu'aib, or Jethro, addressed him when Moses entered his house, saying, "You have been saved from an unjust folk." It's verse 25. God's will continued to strengthen and safeguard Moses when he came face to face with vile and haughty foes, rendering them unable to lay any hand on him. Rather, this tale ends with the destruction of this implacable enemy, in verse 35. Then another side of God's supervening and overpowering will is displayed before us, that which relates to guidance and misguidance. This is not a matter of love or familial ties, but rather a celestially decreed affair, set in place by the Lord of creation for those for whom God has destined divine assistance and preservation from misguidance. Verse 56. It is the divine will, full of wisdom, that warns sinners before punishment is sent, as in verse 59, so that when transgressors stand before their Lord, immersed in humiliation and covered in regret, they will be lost for both words and excuses. Verse 66. It is the height of blindness for man to think that his wealth and power can avail him aught before the will of God, such that he becomes a new Qarun. Such a man who believes that he has acquired wealth through his own cleverness and forgets the blessings and favours of God will emerge one day before his people in all his finery, only to be swallowed by the earth and buried in its soil. This is so that people of genuine faith may realize that even if they were denied wealth and tried in their persons and children, this was all part of God's plan for them. It is from His wisdom, testing their mettle, that it might shine forth from people of certainty, while the loud claims of the people of falsehood and dissemblance might grow faint. Thereafter, verses set forth for us, parables from the lives of Noah, Abraham and Shu'aib, and from God's punishment of Ad and Thamud, making clear to us that many are those who plot, scheme, and believe that they are veiled from God's punishment before the Mighty One seizes them, heedless, negligent, with all manner of punishment. One who is attached to his own selfish will, reliant upon his acumen and intellect, and who seeks protection in other than God, is like one stuck to the filaments of a spider's web, which is fragile in form and meaning. Submission to God and holding fast to His rope are the most impenetrable of fortresses, and the surest of assistances and supports by which the believer overcomes all adversity and endures all hardship, hoping for relief from God and remaining certain in His great wisdom. May Allah make us people of heedfulness and not people of heedlessness, and give us comfort and strength in the fact that it is Allah's will that overcomes all, that God's will be done on earth. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.